I've got a video of Rupert Lowe today giving a little speech deep within the bowels of Westminster, and he's trying to position his remigration plan and the reasons why he believes it's a good idea. And I thought this was a perfect way to look at British politics at the minute, because you've got a really small group of MPs trying to explain to the larger body of MPs exactly how most British people feel on this topic, and you've got the majority of the MPs in the room trying to shout them down, little realising how out of touch they are with public opinion. And I just think this is the perfect analogy for British politics at the moment.
I call Rupert Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mundell. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. The ECHR, what does it actually mean for British people? Let's go through a few examples, shall we? A convicted Sri Lankan sex offender allowed to stay in Britain because he is gay and would be at risk of persecution if he was returned to his home country. I don't care. A Jamaican drug dealer was jailed twice, allowed to stay in Britain after claiming his removal would breach his right to a family life. I don't care. A Zimbabwean jailed for killing a man in a car crash. Can I continue? No. A Zimbabwean jailed for killing a man in a car crash, allowed to stay in Britain after it was discovered he had an illicit love child. I don't care. A convicted Indian paedophile allowed to stay in Britain by claiming the move would harm his children. I don't care. An Albanian criminal was allowed to stay in Britain partly because his son will not eat foreign chicken nuggets. I definitely don't care. We hear so much of the human rights for foreign paedophiles, sex pests and murderers.
Is not giving way. Members may disagree with what he's saying, but we will conduct this in an orderly way.
What about the human rights of the British people? The right not to be raped, stabbed and killed by foreigners who should never have been in our country to begin with. Please spare me the continued moral outrage.
Mr. Lowe, sorry, Ms. Commerce is making a point of order.
Yes. The honourable gentleman just referred to the fact that someone, it just mentioned a few moments ago, that someone...
That is not a point of order. It is not a point of order in relation to the content of his speech.
What's wrong?
Mr. Lowe.
Please spare me the continued moral outrage. I am bored of it. The British people are bored of it. It is not cruel to deport criminals. It is not inhumane to defend our own citizens. What is cruel and what is inhumane is allowing foreign killers and sex offenders to walk amongst us in the name of the human rights they should have forfeited the moment they committed their crimes. You can all sit here and persuade yourselves otherwise, but one simple fact remains. The British people want them gone, not some of them, not most of them, all of them. What happens on return to their own country is quite simply not our problem. The solution is three straightforward steps. Step one, leave the ECHR, remove all other legal obstacles to mass deportations, restore Britain's new 100-page plus policy document proves it can be done. Second step.
That is your three minutes.
Chairman, the interventions held me up.
Well, you didn't have an intervention.
Point of order.
As much as I do like Rupert Lowe's policies, I don't think that I would be able to vote for his party if it was available in my area, simply because of the fact that I'm a pragmatist and I must use my vote wisely to get something that I want out of the election. I realise that a lot of the policies that Rupert Lowe espouses, a lot of people do like them, but unfortunately he doesn't have the traction, he doesn't have the wide audience that's required to enact any of these policies, because he's never going to get anywhere near power. And that's my main problem with taking the Restore Britain party as seriously as I might if they had a lot of support within the wider country. They're a very, very small party, and it's mainly the online right that has a lot of support for this. But, you know, the country is a lot more than the online right. There's a lot of people in the country who've never heard of this Restore Party, or in fact Rupert Lowe and how everything's going on. And so for that reason, it's not a viable election choice. Now, outside of that, with regard to this committee meeting, I also thought it was a perfect representation of our political system at the moment. A very small amount of people stand up and tell the parliamentary system what a lot of the British people are feeling, and most of the MPs shout and shake their heads and shout the people down because they don't like the sound of it. Little realising, of course, that they are the ones that are out of touch. And you know, throughout history, perhaps these MPs can be cut a little bit of slack in some way, because there has been periods within our history where Parliament has moved against what the general consensus of the people was to make various changes. An example of that would be Roy Jenkins in the late 60s. Now, Roy Jenkins decided to legalise homosexuality in 67, and when he done that, there was a lot of public opinion which was against doing this, and most of the public felt at that time that it shouldn't be legalised. And Roy Jenkins said, we need to do this as a country because it's good for us. And sometimes MPs get that right. Sometimes they have to enact policies that the general populace doesn't like in order to see the bigger picture, because these are supposed to be our leaders. However, what's happening now, our country is being changed. We are going through a mass migration experiment which is forever going to be changing the demographic nature of our country. And on this one point here, on this point of migration, en masse, the British people have it correct, because once this is changed, we ain't going back. And I think how Rupert was positioning that was perfect. He said his piece, and you saw how the MPs reacted. And there is going to be a public backlash about this at some point beyond anything that we've witnessed thus far. And it needs to happen, because these MPs are out of touch and, in my view, are destroying the fabric of our country. Thanks so much for your time.